See, we've only been married 2 years and you're already tired of me, all right? 2 hours and you're already tired of me. And we're back for the third hour, but this time it's your hour. We're going to have telephone calls, and there are a couple of numbers you can call. You can call 713-807-1794. That's 713-807-1794. But if you're a fan of KPFT Radio, because we're also simulcast on KPFT Radio, KPFT Houston, you can call 713-526-5738. Either one of those numbers will work right here next to me. And you can ask these fine people. There's a couple of folks left over from the original committee, the committee where we were talking about inmates and the Wall Talk program. And we've got Danny left over from the Ryan White Council. And if you have any questions about HIV/AIDS, and we're here to answer the whole gamut. We've got a couple of young fellows and a young woman and an old woman here, and we'll be more than glad to deal with your questions if you'll give us a call. That's 713-807-1794 and 713-526-5738. Two options, same destination. Now, we only have one line here, so you'll be calling and the line will be frequently busy. And when it is busy, just keep on dialing because you'll get a chance to get on as we take care of that caller's call. Danny, did we cover the Brian White Council issues pretty well?
I think we did a pretty good job. One thing that I wanted to touch on was how we kind of went from one conversation to another. It would seem there was two totally different conversations. But I think because we are part of the Brian White Planning Council and we sit on the committees and we see the problems that some people face with money and resources and services, maybe that's why we're a little more passionate about passing on the information and why our personal thoughts would sometimes blur the line between one thing and another.
Well, you bring your personal experiences into these programs anyway. Wherever it is you're on the picket line, you bring who you are and where you're from to that.
Definitely. Like Bruce said earlier, we all come in with our own little personal agendas and you adjust them as you go along. And again, because we see the troubles that some people go through, and because some of us have done education or go out there and help other people, and we see the trouble and the stigmas and the families, we want to make sure that people get not just the financial aspect of Ryan White, but also the personal and the soul of it. And I think the last hour kind of covered all that. So,
Danny, Jennifer, how did we do with the Wall Talk program and that program? Do you think we covered that territory pretty well?
I think so. I really do. It's my hope that the public has a greater awareness of just how important that program is to the inmate population and helping motivate them to know how to reach within themselves and turn away from some of that selfish behavior and learn how to care about other people, and hopefully it'll change the prison culture. So I think we covered it well.
You know, there's not much difference between the public's lack of understanding and insecurity about people who have prison records and people who have AIDS. Mm-hmm. Those are similar kinds of things where people don't know exactly how to react to that. You know, I'm so openly ex-convict. I mean, God, my gay friends say, well, shut up about that, you know. But that's fine. My convict friends say, shut up about the gay thing, you know. But the deal is that I rub it kind of in people's faces. In my case, it's kind of a weapon. You know, I can't take a flight from here to Philadelphia without people on either side know that I'm a queer ex-convict. I mean, that's something that they're going to have to suffer all the way to Philadelphia.
That's a testament to what you were saying earlier about honesty and dealing with fear. You know, Jennifer and I were eavesdropping on the conversations you were having from the green room.
Sure.
And talking about the fear that gets in the way of being honest with ourselves, with society. So when you say that, you know, you're stuck between two people who have to deal with your gay ex-convict, basically, to me, that's, you know, that is life and that's reality, and it's truly honest. And that's what we need more of in this society, I think.
So if you have any questions about HIV, or if you have any questions about the Wall Talk program and dealing with inmates, Whatever your questions you have, this is World AIDS Day, and this is your time, and there are a couple of telephone numbers you can call. One of them, right off my head, is 713-526-5738. I live at KPFT, where I do the prison show for the last 26 years, and those are the numbers that my callers call in, 713-526-5738. Give us a call. We're on Houston MediaSource and radio station KPFT Houston. We need to hear from you, because if you don't have any questions, then we'll just sit around here and have a pleasant visit for the rest of the afternoon. But you're welcome to call in and give us a call. If you call and the line is busy, as soon as that person hang up, it will no longer be busy, and you can give us a call. 713-526-5738. Give us a call and get on the air. Is someone on the phone now? I put the speakerphone. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, you are on the air.
Someone on the phone now?
Uh-oh.
Hello? I put the speakerphone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You need to turn your radio down.
Okay, it's down.
Okay.
Hey, I have a quick question. Well, two questions real quick.
Sure.
And it's a fact or myth question.
Okay.
This kind of, maybe this is misinformation, I don't know. I was told that if you have sickle cell anemia, you can be a carrier of the virus but not develop AIDS because of your condition. That's fact or fiction, number one.
That's fiction.
Two, that's fiction?
That's fiction.
Okay, number two, if you are sick, like let's say pneumonia or a cold or something, you should not take the AIDS test, because you're going to see a rise in the T what is it, a T cell count?
Yeah.
So it won't be an accurate test to take a HIV test while you're sick with some kind of illness?
Let me toss that over to Danny, because Danny certainly knows about all of both of those. Incidentally, are myths.
Okay, I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Definitely, there are very few things that can affect a test. I think it would be more accurate in women, especially during the menstrual cycle, where the reading can be off. But definitely for a man, there are very few things.
Okay. Now, whether or not you've got HIV, that's an illicit test.
Right.
Whether you've got pneumonia or whether you're in your menstrual cycle, I don't care where you are, that nothing's going to affect the outcome of that test.
Right.
Now, you might get a false positive and you might get a false negative, but the illicit test is not affected by any of those other things. Now, after you have established that you have HIV, and you get pneumonia or you get a cold, that's going to affect your T cell count, because your body's natural response, your natural immune response, right? But that shouldn't prevent you from getting it, because you need to know what your body's doing with that other thing. Now the sickle cell thing.
Now, I was going to add to that, it's just with a lot of people using the mouth test now, the oral quicks and all, there's very few things that can affect that. It's 99.96.
That's just a variation of the illicit.
Yeah. So.
Right. I mean the oral quick test is just another variation on the illicit test.
It's just quicker test nowadays, but it doesn't vary.
Sure. Oh, hey, we're rolling. Oh, ain't nobody there. They give me a wrong signal.
He was talking about the T cell count and talking basically, does that affect, not getting an HIV test when you have the pneumonia or the flu, because you could register your T cells are really low or something like that? Well, any sickness can affect your T cells, but then there's also the viral load to think about.
Yeah.
So that's another bit of information that can be gotten from getting an HIV test. You get the information on what the viral load is in your body, and so that will tell you whether or not you have HIV or not. Your T cells are going to go up and down with any kind of illness.
Now, I know people that are sickle cell infected and HIV infected at the same time. So the idea that if you're suffering sickle cell that you can't get HIV is obviously a myth.
That's definitely a myth.
Yeah, definitely a myth. There is very little immune response that would prevent somebody who's been exposed to HIV from getting it. They have found some interesting stuff But unless your ancestors are from Ayr, England in the 16th century, it probably doesn't apply to you.
And went through the plague.
Well, you know, actually, hills were farmers in Western. My ancestors were farmers in Western England. So, but I'm not running the chance anyway. I will behave as if I don't care what my ancestors said. It's none of their business how I conduct my private defensive sex life. And you have joined us here on the air. Yes? Hello?
Hello.
You're on the air.
Yes, sir. I have a question. I heard you mention that you have African men giving the AIDS virus to their women, but I just want to know, how is the African men catching AIDS to
Oh, it works both ways.
pass it on? You know.
It works both ways. Now, there's a lot of talk out there about the what do they call the down low?
Oh, okay.
Okay, but you don't have to be in the down low to get exposed to HIV. That's possible. It is true. I mean, y'all pitch in on this. It is true that the recipient in penetrative sexual activity is at greater risk of exposure than the penetrant.
Correct.
Exactly. Plus, if the penetrant has any kind of open sores and is engaging in sex with a woman, then right there you have exposure within bodily fluids. And so it can be contracted between heterosexuals that way.
So,
Okay.
So it is our agreed advice that everybody protect themselves, whether they're on top or on the bottom.
Correct.
Exactly.
Right.
Whether you're a man or a woman.
Well, that was my question, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling.
All right.
Well, those are good questions, and you can call to 713-526-5738 or 713-807-1794. The various agencies are in there quarreling over the phone line, and we'll take whichever number you call, you get the same result, 713-807-1794. Do you mind answering questions over and over again? You get frequently the same question. I mean, you're out there teaching, both of y'all are, and you're out there doing it too. You get the same questions frequently from the audience, and some of those people are pretty creative with how original their questions are.
I don't get tired of asking the same questions over and over again. I'm pretty accepting that people's knowledge base is going to be where it's at, and I'd be glad to help get it to a level that can get more understanding. So that doesn't really bother me. What is surprising, though, is the same questions from different people over the span of about a decade. The idea that the information isn't getting out, even though I've said it over and over again, and I know Danny has, and I'm sure you did too when you're doing Wall Talk stuff, peer education. That's what kind of gets me.
Well, prisons are just absolutely wildfire place for misinformation. I mean, you can start a rumor here on this unit, and by the end of the day, it's going all the way across the state, and everybody takes it for gospel.
I think one of the benefits of hearing the same questions over and over again is, again, realizing the lack of information that's out there, and you get the question asked sometimes in several different ways. So that, as an educator, that helped me to put out the information in different ways. You kind of start to modify it from using very technical words to getting down home and going, okay, look, it's the penis. What the hell is this? This is what it is, it's sex.
Top and bottom.
And we've got another caller, and you're on the air.
I just wanted to make a comment you were saying about prison and AIDS. I know that right now TB is spreading around the prison system again, and that the TB tests are unreliable if you do have AIDS. I was wondering if you could comment on that, and then other health issues coming out of communities with more TB, like immigrant communities, and just any place for that together here in the States.
Well, your reception is a little troubled, so I'm going to answer it off the telephone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, right. The caller raises a question about tuberculosis. It's a big deal. Of course, if you're HIV infected and along comes the tuberculosis virus, you're the recipient of choice, right? Mm-hmm. Your immune system is down, so you're going to get it. And there are now strands of tuberculosis which are difficult to treat.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And people with HIV and AIDS are affected by that generally. Now, he raised the question, if you got HIV, getting tested for tuberculosis or either way, does that affect the accuracy of the test on whether you have? That's news to me.
It would be news to me too. I think again the ELISA test.
The ELISA test is the ELISA test, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
ELISA. I remember her. She was a drag queen from Fort Worth. I used to dance with her all the time, and she turned out to be pretty testy.
Ba-dum-bum. Yeah.
All right.
When I was diagnosed with both TB and HIV, and the TB was harder to treat, so they did that first.
Yeah.
Once that was under control, then the HIV came on. But it was a good 4 months before they even worried about HIV. TB was the most dangerous one, especially because there was history and exposure in my family. So we had to really worry about that. So yeah, definitely being HIV positive, going to a room, and I was recently incarcerated. So having gone in there, it was definitely a scare. It was just, because you can't defend yourself. You have nothing to defend yourself with. Mm-hmm. So knowing that there is an outbreak or it's spreading.
Well, the incarceration implication of tuberculosis is enormous, because there you have a very contiguous society. Everybody's living real close to one another, and any kind of infection can go through there like wildfire. I mean, they just had the cruise virus affected a bunch of people down at the Ramsey. No, the Daring. Was it Ramsey?
It was a Ramsey.
It was a Ramsey, you know. And so, I mean, I immediately started getting calls. Well, when people are living close together in like cell blocks and in dormitories and all of that, the cruise ship virus can go through that population, and overnight you've got people lined up trying to get a hold of that porcelain to empty their guts out and that sort of thing. We've been getting good questions. 713-807-1794, 713-807-1794, or 713-526-5738 is the number you can call. Institutional incidents of
With TB?
tuberculosis, was that a problem in the women's units?
There was a lot of exposure to it. Now, just because you've been exposed to TB doesn't mean that you have tuberculosis.
Sure.
So a lot of people had to take medication, the 6-month regimen for the exposure. But my stay there, it wasn't, I never ran across any cases of actual TB, but a lot of exposure. Because like you said, living close together, it's not the most sanitary place in the world. No. I mean, I lived in a dorm that had sewage coming up in the showers, you know, and that was for 6 months.
Sound like old Harris County Jail.
Yeah. So you had a lot of exposure to things, but I mean, we usually tried to take care of one another because the medical care is not quite up to par either. So.
No, well, you know, it's a struggle.
It is.
In Texas prisons, I mean, I'm on the radio, so I've got the audience out there, and so, I mean, I have to tell people, how do you manage the health care? I mean, do you get persistent? Oh my God, it costs me $3 just to put in a doctor's call. And I don't have the money to meet on my commissary. Well, you got to choose. Do you want the ice cream and the coffee, or do you want to get some health care? And it's the squeaky hinge that gets the lubrication. We got somebody calling in. You're on the air. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is this Ray?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Hi, Ray. I just wanted to, you almost hit it, I think, or perhaps I didn't hear the whole thing when the subject to TB was brought up.
Yeah.
But, you know, and earlier you were talking about management and what a difference there is today for those that have the resources to take the medicines available. About the other effects that are associated with HIV. One of which was said to me about a condition that I inherited recently, but not because I'm HIV positive, and that is lymphoma. Lymphoma is said to be a type of cancer that's associated with a positive response.
Okay, we'll have these folks toss that around.
My question is you can manage the HIV, but what if you've already got these other things that are products, so to speak?
All right, we'll have them toss it around.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Anybody have any experience of exposure to lymphoma? Lymphoma is a form of lymph node cancer, and of course HIV shows up first in the lymph nodes.
Right.
because any kind of infection shows up first in the lymph nodes.
Well, I think when I was first diagnosed, just the standard swelling of the limbs was the only, nothing more serious than that. And of course, over the last 6 years, depending on where you are physically, they'll pop up a little bit and give you a little problem, but up to now, no, nothing serious.
Here's, I mean, it's not a real complicated principle. If you've got HIV, your immune system is in a deteriorating state. It's a progressive thing. It's not, like click, all of a sudden you have no immune system. Your immune system diminishes. In that process, you get exposed to other things. Then your immune system is not able to handle those other things as would a normal immune system. Cancer results in an immune response. I don't care what it is. You've got anything going on in there that's not supposed to be going in there, your body tries to respond to it with an immune response. If you've got HIV, then that response is measurably less than it would be if you didn't have HIV. In the early stages, it is less. In the later stages, it is greater, less. But trying to explain HIV to convicts on the prison show, because before the Wall Talk program, we tried to do that over the air. So we got Dan Word. Dan Word's a research pathologist, an internist, research pathologist, who had worked on the research to determine whether or not it was efficient to treat hepatitis C if the person is co-infected with HIV. The end result is yes. But knowing that, then we used his expertise on the prison show to use the radio to teach people in prison about HCV, hepatitis C. Because there's a lot of hepatitis C in prison, and because there wasn't a lot of good information. UTMB is now doing a much better job of not only informing people about their HCV status, but also providing necessary treatment. But generally speaking, if you're HIV infected, you need to watch everything else, because your immune system can't handle hardly. Anybody want to add to that? Is that?
Yeah, practice paying attention to your body, what it says to you, what it's doing to you, how you're feeling, and be really attentive to every little thing. What's the first sign that you feel when you come down with a cold? Is it a little tickling in the back of your throat, or is it sneezing? Pay attention to those things.
Because it makes a difference.
It does. Those are cues that something's coming on. About the caller, let me see. Back in 1995, when there was AZT, and folks had kind of co-infections, Hep C and HIV, it was that balancing act of treatment. You treat the Hep C, but it really affected your HIV adversely.
Everything.
And so you had to slow down on the Hep C and then go to
the meds interact.
Exactly.
It's not just that the diseases interact, but the medications.
You got to take that into consideration, definitely.
713-526-5738, or you can call on 713-807-1794. We'd be glad to answer your questions and chat with you. You don't have to have a question. You can make a comment. We welcome your comments here on this wonderful program, World AIDS Day programming on Houston MediaSource. And if you're listening on Houston MediaSource, there it is, right across the bottom is the telephone number. See there? I can even put my finger on it. Or you can, if you're listening on radio station KPFT, you can call good old dependable 713-526-5738. That'll work. If you're going to listen to Prison Show tonight, you can call the same number and talk to your husband in prison.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun talking to audiences about prison, because it still shocks them. You can't shock people being queer anymore. They don't work. No. Why don't you tell us something that's not boring?
We're all boring now.
Yeah, I remember we were I used to sabotage radio talk shows. I'd call the AM radio talk show and say, "Y'all talking about homosexuals today?" And then hang up. And they said, "No, we're not talking about homosexuals." But then the next 10 callers.
Yeah.
Get that fire going.
That don't work anymore.
Being gay isn't what it used to be.
No, it doesn't really. We got straight teenagers telling their parents they're gay just to upset their parents.
Yeah.
Not that we encourage that, but it is kind of funny.
I mean,
Yeah, we don't put any ideas in your head. You know.
all those things into consideration with the whole changing face of AIDS that's happened. So I was just seeing a movie at the River Oaks Theater. I can't remember what it was called.
The Queen, I saw it.
Okay.
where I found out that her husband is basically homophobic. There ain't gonna be anybody at Diana's funeral except them homosexuals. And I said, not Charles, what's his name? Philip. I said, Philip, I'm so disappointed. You know, I thought you'd have a better attitude.
Exactly. So we still hear stuff like that. I'm wondering, you know, you said earlier, we're talking within circles that are familiar about talking about HIV and AIDS. So those are our circles.
Sure.
And sometimes I take it for granted being in those circles about the knowledge base, just society in general. I'm wondering sometimes how clear the public is about the changing face of AIDS. What is that face of AIDS now? To me?
Well, we need to be out at the edge of that scene, all right? We need to be out there talking to those women of color of childbearing age because that's where the disease is.
Exactly.
Right. I know that over at the CPG, that's the prevention piece. That's CPG is City Health Department. We work
Community
on prevention.
planning
We're not like Bryan Council. We only work on prevention. We don't do the rest of it. And so we try to make sure that the people that sit around the table match the disease.
Good.
So early on, there was 3/4 of us were white gay males. And then here begin to come the black males and the Hispanic males, all right? And then all of a sudden the disease began to shift into the heterosexual community. Now the majority of the table are women of color of childbearing age, black and Hispanic women of general, and some Asians. I mean that's we try to make sure that group matches the disease, because if it matches the disease, it will do a better job of thinking about how to talk about prevention, who to talk about, and what languages to talk about, and where to find them.
Culturally specific information.
Right.
Exactly.
It's got to be that way. 713-807-1794, 713-526-5738 for you Pacifica folks who are trained in on that number. We'd be glad to have you call. Give us a call, 713-526-5738. You have questions, comments about what we've been talking about, or anything else in the next couple. We've got some pretty knowledgeable folks here. Trying to talk to straight women, especially in institutions. I mean, when I went down and did a recovery program at Plain State. Now, at state jail, I went and talked to the women there about alcohol and drug abuse because if I make it until January the 4th, that's a month away, I will be 49 years free of alcohol and drugs.
Wow. Congratulations.
And that's enormous in prison. So I go in and talk to these women. I'd never done a women's group before. And so I said, the only thing that gay men and women have in common is that we all know how sorry men are. And that's true.
That should be on a T-shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, I just wanted to call and ask about the insurance for HIV.
Ah.
I had a problem last year. I didn't have insurance. I was cut off a program for my medication. And so I went to get insurance. And I could only get on the high-risk group.
Uh-huh.
And my employer said that they would pay for it. But when I went to apply, they said they wouldn't let me have it because my employer was going to pay for it. So, and there's only a few employees, so we don't have a insurance policy. But I just wondered, what options do you have for insurance?
But you did have insurance? But
I didn't have insurance before, no.
Okay,
I was on a program that ADAP to help to get your medication.
Yeah, under ADAP, we understand.
Yeah. And so they cut me off that because I make too much money.
Okay, we'll deal with it.
Not enough to pay for the medications.
Yeah, we understand, and we'll deal with that. Thank you for calling.
Okay, thank you.
Listen on the air.
Okay.
ADAP.
Yeah, we kind of looked at each other.
AIDS drug assistance program. We know
Yeah.
that.
They would cut him off because he made too much money.
Right. There's a scale.
Right.
I don't know what the financial eligibility is then.
Financial eligibility is the deal. And if you make over so much money, then you're SOL. Out of luck. Out of luck. We can't say that other word, but out of luck is where you are.
A little slow in the uptake.
Right,
Sorry.
right. And so if you're SOL because of allocation, what do? You don't have insurance. You don't qualify for ADAP. If you're a resident of Harris County, you go to, my recommendation, if you're a resident of Harris County, you go to the Thomas Street Clinic and find out what other programs are available besides ADAP.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, Yo got a GAP program, or Ryan White to pick up the GAP stuff a little bit.
Right. Yeah. There's always that's why we're there, basically. There's always a resource. It's just a matter of doing the legwork sometimes. But yeah, definitely not having insurance. That kind of bugs me. Not having insurance should not mean you can't get your medications if you need them. That would be my concern with that caller. Is are you taking?
I mean,
have medications now? Or,
yeah. Do you have to give up your job in order to get your medications? Hey, there are senior citizens that have a problem keeping a roof over the head or getting their medications, whether they're HIV infected or not. Correct. I mean, there are those gaps in this wonderful American healthcare system that you can get the best healthcare system you can afford, that kind of thing. But with what you need is a caseworker.
Exactly.
Yes, definitely.
Here's the secret: you are you're earning a living, you keep a roof over your head, all that. But if your AIDS medication bill is such that you can't afford to do that, then what you need is a caseworker.
Right.
Exactly. Let somebody else strategize. What we're trying to tell you, if you're watching on television, what we're trying to tell you is we are here to reduce the stress of your worry. All right?
Right.
Don't handle this stuff. Don't get a macho problem.
Oh, definitely.
Don't get a macho problem and think, I want to solve this problem. No, get you a caseworker. There's somebody that is trained who has a Rolodex with all of the resources on there that say, all right, we've got this problem. It's not the first time they've heard this problem.
Definitely. See, that would be my advice right there. Contact an AIDS service organization. Let them know what your situation is. We're all very familiar with the importance of adherence to medications so that you don't develop any kind of resistance. And so that argument alone should open some doors to receiving medications. If you speak to a caseworker, they'll advocate for you.
And caseworker. I mean, you can go to what?
Legacy Community Center, right? AIDS Foundation, Houston,
Center for AIDS.
Center for, well, actually, I don't think they have any caseworkers, but they have lots of information.
Yeah.
So definitely call the Center for AIDS for information.
You walk in there and tell Bernie, all right, this is my problem. He said, here's the card you go to, and he's got that card right there. And that's what's going to be on here for the next hour. Is we're going to go visit Bernie over at the Center for AIDS, and we talk with those folks.
And invitation here is that if you want to tap into all kinds of different resources from the whole gamut, come to one of our meetings. Just come to a meeting and
the resources will be there.
You saw our faces now. We can't hide. So stop us, and we will definitely, like Steven said, we've all been through one process or another where somebody said, no, you can't have it. And he said, knocked on another door and come across.
Right.
But yeah, please.
And get an advocate. Get an advocate. Don't cope with a cold, cruel world by yourself. Yeah. There are people that care and people who want to care.
Definitely.
I've been. We've got 25 years of this. We got 25 years of this. We have had to look at it from every angle, corner. Very early in Houston, we decided that nobody with HIV should die on the streets. So we had upper middle class people who had nice townhouses with an extra bedroom, taking in people who had never lived in a house in their life because they had HIV. And they were staying here, and so you got to house train them. You got to teach them how to live in a nice place because they'd never done that.
Exactly.
And the outpouring, some of these days, we're going to live in an era, I hope, where we're going to say we're in the post-AIDS era. Some of these days. Even if you got AIDS, you're not going to be worried about it because we're over the hump. Right?
Yep.
And then we're going to be able to look back and see what happened from in Houston 1980, because we did Kaposi Sarcoma Committee in 1980, 2 years before the word AIDS was coined. We started organizing around this issue. Handful of us. Most of them are dead. Who's alive? It's me, Deborah Danberg, Sue Lovell, now city councilman, and a handful of others. The rest of them are gone. We remember their names because we've named housing units after them and institutions after them, and we built shrines at Center for AIDS for them, and the original founders of the thinking of that. But we saw it all. And we're going to look back on that history and what gay people did, gay men and lesbians, transgendered people did, about the AIDS crisis. Truly remarkable. Truly remarkable. Nowhere else in history can anyone give me an example where a disenfranchised, discredited community faced a crisis of that magnitude and didn't run away from it. Instead, we ran toward it. We ran toward it. And frequently the only allies we had were the doctors, the real doctors, the doctors that actually treated patients with AIDS. It was a remarkable history. It's too soon, too fresh in people's minds. Too much ego's tied up to write about that. And I may actually never be able to write about that myself, but I witnessed it. And it's been remarkable. The fact that you're watching this on Houston MediaSource and listening to this on radio station KPFT today is a natural result of the sacrifices and the commitments that those people had. It's just absolutely amazing. And so when I run into gay people who are guilty and shamed, and I just shake my head because they don't realize what kind of tribe they are from. Remarkable, caring people, nurturing people. Before that, we were the nurses. I mean, the story of the lesbian who cared for her aging parents while heterosexual brothers and sisters went on with their life is just allegiance, part of this culture. The story of the Berdache in Native American cultures, where even if warring tribes over hunting grounds and all that, the gay guys could go from one tribe to the other with impunity, and were the emissaries of peace, and the history and all of that, and old men like me who bothered to read and study and understand. And I learned gay and lesbian history at the feet of William S. Woods at Tulane University, Dean of History. We're remarkable, different people. And we've seen a lot of fear and hate and prejudice. Now, you don't have to be gay. If you've got HIV, you're going to see a lot of fear and hate and prejudice. And we understand. If there were no more gay people with AIDS, we would still be there providing services, support, because you're our family too. Telephone number here is 713-807-807, 713-807-1794, or 713-526-5738. Excuse me, I go off on tangents like that every once in a while. It's part of my culture.
Like I was telling you earlier, it's going back and tapping into that history that makes the present so much more, I can't think of an appropriate word for it, but it just gives it the value that it needs to make us really sit down and think and go, wow, 25 years. And Stephen will back me up on this. If you go into to Ryan White Land Council, and there's a memorial wall there,
yeah.
you see people and you
names I recognize for sure.
And
I probably lost 400 friends to AIDS.
And you look through the walls, and there's pictures of past members and current council members, and I promise, if you come and look, you will identify with somebody on that picture. Somebody looks like you, and you start thinking, wow, this, like you said earlier, it's just so across, and we're just not giving it the importance it needs anymore. And I myself, I'm guilty of that sometimes. you just don't want to be part of it anymore. There's days when you just don't want to be involved in it anymore, and you just want to go back to being Danny Garza, Mexican, doing whatever.
Yeah, like Casey Martinez is a friend of mine, and Casey is a good pain in the butt with most people because he's a volunteer at Bering, and he drives a bus and goes and gets people, or a van goes and gets people and brings them in and puts them shows them around. Casey took on his thing an idea of going around and distributing needles. Completely illegal. Got busted a dozen times. I had to call the judge, get him out of jail. Yeah, you're on the air.
Hi. Well, I just tuned in, so forgive me if I'm being redundant.
Oh, that's all right. Well, we're glad to have you.
Okay.
We'll help you catch up.
Well, I was just wondering about the use of condoms. Is it up or down? I think it's down because, let's face it, men they just do not like to use them. And it's not really pleasurable for women either. And that's the only way to prevent AIDS, I guess.
Well, let me tell you about condoms, all right? Now, you may not like them, but that's not condoms' fault, that's technique. I live in a world of condoms. I don't even remember what sex was like without condoms, and I've been around a long time. Whenever I came home and told my companion that we were going to be doing it with condoms, he wanted to leave. But he got over it because he would rather stay rather than do without.
Yes.
And now that was... you figure out the arithmetic. That was about 1983 after I wrote a pamphlet. I came home and said, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's been that many years ago. We are both disease-free, all right? He is now married and a father of a child, which he and his wife named after me. So it doesn't sound like an ugly divorce to me. So the thing about it is about sexuality, sexuality is 20% the mechanical stuff, and 80% the emotional stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So if you get your mix right.
Well, I know, but it's just that I think people have just become ignoring.
They're bored.
Yeah,
they're bored. Oh my God, I know that. Just leave it over there. This time won't count.
I don't have
every time counts.
Your word for it. So, what do? You just get into you got to get tested, and then.
Yep. Well, that's only if this monogamy thing is going to work.
Right.
And earlier I said the only thing gay men and women have in common is we all know how sorry men are, and so you've got to compute that in somewhere.
Well, they're not all sorry.
Well, that's what my mother told me. Frankie said, Raymond, all men are sorry, and 5 years with any one of them is more than they deserve, and so that was the pattern I lived by many years. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
let me let these youngsters. I'm going to let you hang up, and so somebody else can let these youngsters deal with this active sex problem. I don't know much about that at my stage of the game.
Can I make one more comment?
Please.
I just see a lot of my younger friends just not caring about. They don't even care about AIDS. This one friend of mine has the boyfriend, and they don't use anything. So a lot of them are like that.
Let us cope with that too. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, y'all are out there in the market. I'm not. Much.
I'm not on the market.
No, he's taken. I don't know you. I'm single still. Anyway, yeah, still. It's just.
Okay. All right. Condoms, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Definitely. Well, of course, being an educator, I would say thumbs up. You're just maybe not using them right.
How accurate are you with that?
Oh God, I'm on the spot now.
That's right.
I would say 80%.
I've got a sign in my bedroom that says "Use condoms or beat it."
Yeah, I'll admit I wasn't always,
and I mean it.
I wasn't always the best advocate I could be. I've learned over the last several years of teaching and watching, going to school and having to sit down and talk to a 15-year-old who's just been diagnosed. Definitely opened my eyes to that.
Don't it kill you when you see kids like that?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't it cue you?
Oh, man. I'm 35 now, and it just tears me apart to see, thinking, you have 20 years to catch up to me.
And I'm twice your age. So it breaks my heart even more to see some 16, 15-year-old kid that I say, well, why couldn't I have said something earlier?
Right.
Exactly.
So definitely the condoms, I'm for it. There's a lot of fun games, and I took a class from a group of former prostitutes down in the valley who taught me some very interesting and fun ways, and I'll teach anybody who wants to learn how to put on a condom, and they were quite amusing. I would say it definitely heated up my bedroom, so it works. Don't knock the condom if you haven't used it. There's just more.
We used to do safe sex workshops.
Yeah.
Pretty risque stuff for the gay guys,
Even for long-term couples as well. There's safe sex workshops.
If you're not doing the monogamy thing, then there's no end to safe sex. If you've got the monogamy thing down and you can actually trust that guy, which is the hard part.
Too.
All right? Tracy, we don't want to leave the women out of this.
Well, my name's Jennifer.
I know, but excuse me, Jennifer.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, I don't really have a lot of experience with condoms, so I don't really know. But of course, you would
Are lesbians at risk?
There's not much information from the CDC, and I don't know if it's because the risk is so low or it's because lesbians tend to be kind of ignored.
I think that's probably the latter to a large degree. It doesn't make any difference what the statistics are. One's too many.
That's
exactly.
True.
Plus the availability of female condoms. For instance, when you do outreach work, you might have your box of, hopefully you have your box of condoms in case folks ask for them. But I don't think I've ever had a whole box of female condoms. And so what do you do with
You mean
person?
vaginal dams?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, and then there's the female condom.
Yeah, exactly. The big
one, which is also kind of fun, let me tell you.
But it has multiple purposes.
Yes, yeah. Call in and I'll fill you in on that.
Yeah, okay, you're on the air.
Yes, sir. I've been listening off and on because I'm in my vehicle, getting in and out of the vehicle, and I don't want to repeat, but you all said it was okay.
Sure.
Did you by chance discuss where the AIDS virus may have been created, or?
We didn't go into that. There's a great deal of speculation about that. I've been around since dirt. And so I have been down this road and down that road, and I've looked at this, looked at that. The one thing that I have come to the conclusion of absolutely is that the origin of HIV is somewhere in the nations that border South Africa to the north. Now, just saying that is suspicious.
Right.
Just saying that is suspicious. Because at apartheid South Africa, and that's when all this came up, had a population problem, and the origin of the disease came out of the population that was giving South Africa a problem. Now, at this point, all of that history and speculation is certainly grist for any meal. Probably not this one, because we are concerned about what to do about preventing people getting infected and treating people that are infected.
Okay, that is exactly why I asked the question, because if you don't know where it's coming from, you cannot prevent it.
Well, if we know what it is, and we now know what it is.
How about taking a look at information on a virus that was taken from a sheep and a virus that was taken from a cow?
I know. We've looked. I know all of that history, and I know all of that speculation. But the fact of the matter is, the cause of AIDS is HIV. All right.
Okay,
now there is some speculation about that. I do not any longer, in my mind, have any speculation, because everyone I know who has died of AIDS has been infected with HIV.
Okay, Magic Johnson.
Yep.
Is not dead.
No, it does. No. There's no reason now. There is no reason now for anybody who is infected now to reach a terminal illness, because there is a variety of treatment protocols out there that is available if you can afford them. Now, Magic Johnson will never see the day when he can't afford that.
Okay, well, and I'm just going to throw out some words like alpha interferon.
Okay, you're right. Right. I mean, I know about alpha interferon. We use that in HCV treatment. I know it well.
You use it for what?
Hepatitis C treatment.
Right. I started cutting newspapers out of when we had 2 newspapers here in Houston. I used to cut a clipping out every day.
I know.
And I knew eventually there was going to be a report of a potential cure for hepatitis B.
Well, there is a cure for hepatitis B. There's a vaccine for hepatitis B and a vaccine for hepatitis A. There ain't one for hepatitis C. But I appreciate your call.
Okay.
And
I think whatever you talk about AIDS, it needs to be mentioned somehow, some way. Where did it come from? Because if you don't know, then you can't stop it. If you're getting it in
we will
vaccines like the information that I have.
Well, we will discuss that right here.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You know, there's a whole bunch of speculation about the political implications at the time HIV arose. And I'm sensitive to that. I don't question at all the possibility of a conspiracy that grew out of a coalition of people in support of an apartheid South Africa who had a black population they basically wanted to get rid of when all of this popped up. And it came to this country. Case number 1 was a guy on a plane flying from South Africa coming to United States and infected 12 other people on the one trip. Because that's how sexually active gay men were in those days. We've traced all of that. We had to look at all that. But that's not productive now, because the cat is out of the bag. And there ain't going back to put no matter where it came from. If you're infected with HIV, it is about me, my life. What can I do to preserve it? What can I do to lengthen it? What can I do to improve the quality of my life? If you're not infected, the issue is, how do I prevent getting infected? It's about me, personal interest. If you will take care of your personal sexual business to diminish the chances that you're going to get HIV infected, that's a full-time job. If you're in a relationship, it's about us. That's what it's about. If you're a woman, it's about us. If you're a Hispanic woman or a black woman and you're engaged with active sexual activity with multiple partners, you need to learn condom negotiation like nobody's business, because your survival and the health of your children and the support of your children depend on that.
Exactly.
I don't worry about the hereafter. I don't worry about what has been. I live in it today. And that's the story of HIV and AIDS. It's a today kind of thing. How do I get up this morning and not get infected? How do I get up this morning and not spread this infection? How do I get up this morning and guarantee the quality of my life? I come down here this time of the year, every year, so I can talk to you about HIV and AIDS. That conversation has shifted, so now it's time to talk about hepatitis C, because most of the people that I know that are dying with HIV are co-infected with hepatitis C. It's time to worry about people in institutions where diseases spread like topsy. It's time to talk about mothers being aware that they don't need to pass their disease onto their children. Absolutely no excuse for intergenerational transfer of hepatitis C or HIV. We do this, the people that have been on these 3 panels, first 2, and now this one on the telephone, and we thank you for your participation. We want you to remember World AIDS Day is a very serious part of your lives. This is an opportunity to talk to your partner about HIV. It's time for you to talk to your children about HIV. It's time to understand your neighbors with HIV. I'm Uncle Ray. You've seen me all your life. I'm here to make you uncomfortable, make you think about things. And I thank you for listening to Houston MediaSource and radio station KPFT Houston for this valuable information. Stay tuned for a taped visit to the Center for AIDS. Thank you very much for listening. Stick with us for the rest of the day.